Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. I guess we've got to title this one No Eze, No Cry, even though I don't think any of us are crying about it. It's gutting, and we're going to get into that later, but perhaps some of the reactions on the internet might be a little bit overblown, and we'll get to that. But we're also going to be talking about what alternatives this leaves us with in the market, and we'll be capping off with a preview for a very exciting game we've got coming up. Man City away at the Etihad. Yes, I'm still excited for that, despite most people's reservations of how it might go. I've got a different view. To discuss it all with me today is the wonderful Sai over in dark Basel.
Dark today, mate. It's been absolutely tipping it down as well. So pleased to, but I've got it off my chest last night on the live stream, so I'm not going to be quite so emotional tonight over the Eze piece.
Well, put your emotions on your sleeve if you like. We have sensible Stu over in Dubai with his aircon on full blast. How are you, Stu?
I'm good. Nice to be back in the country where I can actually have a drink after a week in Kuwait.
Oh, nice. Very good. And we have, of course, Siege. How are you, sir? I forget where you are at the moment because you were on a flight the other day. But how are you?
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. I will Tottenham.
Well, guys, let's get straight into it. Let's not spend too long on this because I think it's been done to death and we did a whole thing on it last night. But the Eze transfer fell through, and as you can imagine, it was met with calm, reasonable discourse as we sensibly moved on to our other projects. And as a fan base, we unified behind the club during a difficult period and didn't at all take it too far when we put our emotions on the table today. No, but Sai, go on. I'll start with you. It was gutting, wasn't it, on a serious note, to miss out on him?
Of course it was.
Go on.
We had a lot of hopes pinned on that. I mean, he would have been amazing for us. He's a very, very good player. But the more that I've looked at it today, and listen, everybody's read the articles. I think Miguel Delaney's article was quite insightful is it in the Telegraph or the Independent? Can't remember what one. But from the looks of it, I'm not sure we'd have landed in whatever we did. And I know what I think when it got to the point where he was close to signing for us, I think Arsenal would have swooped in and done the deal anyway. I think that they were focusing elsewhere to get the other deals done that they had, and they thought that they've got everything lined up ready to go for Eze as and when they needed to, and maybe that's what happened. We got strung along, maybe. And listen, it's what it is. He's not coming. He's gone. He's a gooner. He's always been a gooner. Let him be a gooner. And we got to look elsewhere now. You can't get too hooked up on this stuff.
Well, it sounds like August 10th. So go back in time. End of July, Arsenal got involved in the deal. They lowballed it, and it was around £40 million, which Palace understandably laughed out the room and said his release clause is 65. Take it or leave it. They were happy to let the transfer expire. And August 10th, they came back involved in the deal. And Stu, do you think if we had activated that release clause, Arsenal would have just activated it in return, or was there a window to get this done?
I know many are just claiming that we should have done that, and if we'd have done that, we'd have had a free reign at him. I don't think that's true. I think it's what you said. They knew that he wanted to go to them. If you look at the timeline of Fabrizio, he had them speaking to Eze already at the end of June, I think it was the first one. So they pretty much knew it was a done deal. They wanted to get rid of some players probably for financial reasons and space reasons and the rest. And so they thought, okay, we know he wants to come. We'll do our business. Even if we'd have triggered it, they'd have said, okay, fine, we'll come and trigger it. Or, worst case scenario, he could have also said no. And, they would have had to accept whatever Arsenal came up with. I mean, Fab even came out with, when we thought that his release clause expired a couple of weeks ago, saying that Arsenal were happy for it to lapse because they were never going to do it anyway because they were going to negotiate it differently. So I think it was going to happen no matter what we did.
I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, to be honest. Just because they may have triggered the release clause or whatever, but that would have at least put them in a more financially uncomfortable situation that I think we are better equipped to handle than they were. So it's like, yeah, they could have done it, but they also could have not done it, and we won't know. But it's frustrating that I think the most frustrating thing about it is that the quoted fee is essentially the release clause. So we let Arsenal have an extra week to make the decision to come in, to pay like the better terms that we had negotiated instead of just paying the release clause. Because I think you had to know that Arsenal were always going to be informed till the end. I think that it was kind of naive to think that we were going to be in a one-horse race for a player of his talent. And I think that's kind of the most frustrating thing, is that the transfer flops we have are for players like this because we faff about.
I disagree. One, I don't know if we could have even afforded to to pay the release clause. I mean, Jim, you've done a lot of pods on the finance and the cash flow that we have and the cash available. So I don't even think that was an option. And I disagree that it's faffing about, because I think it's just a lazy narrative that everyone likes to point the finger at the club and said they were sitting on their butt for too long. And that seems to be the narrative everywhere you've seen, whether it's on our WhatsApp groups or on Twitter, etc., all day.
And also, are we naive enough to think that there's not background conversations going on between the agents and the clubs and blah, blah, blah? Arsenal would have been fully aware of what was going on, and they would have been working out how and when they want to do it. And it looks like we got very, very close to getting a signature, and they might have just thought, listen, it's now or never. We're going to go in, and we know he wants to come to us if we pay the right money, so let's go and do it. And they had all their ducks lined up, ready to go. I just don't... The narrative that's out there at the moment is Levy should have just spent the money and got the deal done. It's not that simple. Oh. Was there a window where we could have got it done? Maybe. We don't know what's going on in the background, right? But there's also the point around, if we'd have put the money on the table, they don't have to take it. And the player could have still been saying to his agent, go and see what Arsenal are going to do, because they were in for me at the start, because that's where I want to go, really. And I'll take Tottenham as a fallback. We just don't know. And everybody speculates about it. And there's no point getting our knickers in a twist over it, if I'm honest. Just, it's done, move on.
I think on the finance bit, we can afford him. The issue is, if they wanted a large upfront fee in the release clause, which we could do, but then it impacts your ability to go, because you're using up a large amount of your cash surplus. So the highest cash surplus in the league on the last set of accounts was 74 million, and that was Spurs. But that doesn't include some short-term liabilities which are due. And anyway, after we included all them, it was around 40 million. I can't remember the exact number. I have to get the numbers up again. But it wasn't loads. So you're saying you put all your cash outlay into a transfer. But by the way, we've probably got more cash because we've had this rumored cash injection that's been announced. So this isn't an excuse. Some people going,
But even it's speculation that we've had this investment.
We're not getting it. I think that there has to be some level of truth to that, though, because I don't think that we go for the level of transfer we're rumored to be going towards by reputable journalists if we don't have a cash injection. At the beginning of the season, without player sales, I don't think any of us would have expected us to be in for a player that was worth £60-something million and someone who's worth two players, I guess, worth north of £60 million without some sort of cash injection.
Ultimately, if we really wanted to, we could have made it happen in the release clause. If we really wanted to, Spurs have the ability to make that happen, I think is the point. And to DJ's point, I think the worst case scenario is you put Arsenal in a more uncomfortable situation.
For sure. For sure. But the release clause doesn't guarantee you get him. It just allows you to talk to him.
No, because you've got to ask Marinakis, even after you've activated the release clause, if you can have the player. So there's all that to navigate.
It was in Gibbs White's non-disclosure, something to do with Eze.
Spurs can't bid for Eze. Yeah. But I do, and I just want to kind of finish off with a good point. Try cover off all the main sound bites in this piece before we brush off to the next bit, which is potential alternatives and what other positions. But John Ellis made a good point, I think is fair. If we had put the release clause on earlier, when things were looking a bit uncertain, or made a bigger bid, at least you would know if it was actually going to happen or not, and you could have moved on to other targets 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And I think that's where the frustration is. It's a lack of urgency. That's really, and
you also force Arsenal's hand whilst they're in negotiations for other players. You're then forcing their hand about how much do they want to focus over here when they're trying to sign up, the two new signings and the extension to their midfielder. You do make it a bit more uncomfortable for them. But whether it would have ever happened or not, we just don't know, right?
I do hope, though, that we were not that naive and weren't speaking to other options and looking at other options. Because if we were, then that is negligence.
We must.
Yeah.
It kind of does depend on who we get instead. But I don't know. We wanted a £60 million 10 with Morgan Gibbs White. And I can understand going kind of eggs in one basket for him because of the release clause that did or didn't exist, that we did or didn't meet, or didn't pay over, or whatever. I don't care. But I think I expect the club to be once bitten, twice shy about this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. It's all reporting, and so I don't know. But I'm not particularly enthused by we're gonna go try to get Morgan Rogers now, which apparently isn't
That's
true.
That's not happening, apparently.
That being a part of discussions at this point in the off season, I think is negligence. If that happened,
there is, just to smooth this off with the balance, though, DJ. We have to say that in a normal world, 90% of the time, Morgan Gibbs-White is done. They've got ahead of it. They had a good plan. They found a player of a release clause they wanted who was better fit than even Eze. We have our 10 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and we're just scrapping around looking for the left winger and the left centre back.
Yeah.
What we've subsequently done is once that's failed, I think from Morgan Gibbs-White to now, we haven't handled it well. And that's where the issues have been rather than running up to that. Yes, it was a difficult situation to be in, but we could have acted with more urgency. But look, the reaction has been that we're going to get into the squad now whilst we need and the other options, because there's talk of like, oh, this squad's now doomed to mid-table. I still look at that squad and I go, no, that's a squad in and around the top 6 still, right? And it's 2 or 3 players away from the next step up from that, which is finally, challenging for those top 4 spots again. We need a number 10, we need a left winger, we need a left centre back. If you want to make a squad that you go, yeah, that's actually complete to the point where I'm talking about trying to find a better alternative to Solanke, even though he's a good player. Do you know what I mean? That's when you hit the top tier elite level where you're starting to replace very good players with elite players, what you're trying to do. There's no disrespect to Solanke. I still want to keep him in the squad, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It seems to be a short list for number 10s that's left in terms of players that are in the top 5 leagues, fit the obvious profile of what we need, and could make an instant impact. Who do you think we've got left on that list?
Well, the thing is like most of those players at least are not available. Like I said, Tottenham were like apparently asking around Morgan Rogers. He's not going to move. He's never going to move. He's got so much time left on his deal. He just won PFA Young Player of the Season, if I remember correctly. He's at an Aston Villa team that is challenging for the Champions League in a very similar spot to us. They have no incentive to sell unless we paid so much over the odds that they would be able to bring in 2 or 3 players of maybe not similar quality, but to be able to greatly improve their squad. And I just don't think that we will be doing that. Another option that is not going to happen is Nico Paz. Like Stu said yesterday, Como have the richest owners in the league. Half the money we would pay for them goes to Real Madrid anyway. The player probably also wants to keep his avenue to Real Madrid open as well, from what I understood from looking at him earlier in the window. I think that is another unrealistic transfer opportunity. So that leaves us with a few options still. But the problem with these options is none of them are as ready-made as the options that we've been looking at before, because we are at this point looking for someone to start week in, week out. We don't have another number 10 that I feel comfortable rolling out as someone to carry the brunt of our creativity. And now, especially with the news that Kulusevski apparently being out until at least the start of 2026, we need that. This player needs to be someone we can trust to play every week. So the players I think that are left are Khannouss from Leicester, and I'm sure plenty of people have seen stuff about him. He is good. He fits the profile that we need, but he's young. He's going to take some time to adapt to playing at a high level Premier League club. Other options we've been linked to were Tyler Dibbling, who I think plays primarily on the right. Maybe they think that they can move him centrally, but once again, that's another project. And then Magnus Akliouche, who plays for Monaco, who also plays primarily on the right, but the way that Monaco uses their right winger, he plays really centrally, even though he's like listed in the squad as a right winger. So I think that of the two, between him and Dibbling, I think he would have an easier time shifting over to play more centrally because he already takes up a bunch of central positions attacking wise.
So based on this, if we were to get one of those players, do we still need to do more on this window, or would that be enough to, get us to a place where you go, okay, we're hard to beat at home and we're scratching around the European. I know that's not the level we're aiming for. People listening, our goal is we want Spurs to win trophy. But I'm just for this season, I think to have any level of patience in this project, you want to see Spurs winning most of their home games and giving Arsenal a good game away from home, right? That's kind of what you want to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's still some work to do at fullback. Now, whether you decide that Spence is your left fullback cover or right fullback cover, I still think there's a gap at either side depending where you land. I like him, even though he came from Forest. When he was on loan at Forest, he was playing right back. I'd really like him on the left. I think he's superb on the left. So I think we need some fullback cover, and I think you need a different alternative to Solanke up front. I think I think Richarlison and Solanke are fairly similar. They're robust centre forwards. Will Richie stay fit? Question. Don't know. I think we could do with another attacking option there, and then you've got your left centre back as well if you want to think about where your cover is there, because Danso's obviously right centre back cover for Romero, and then where are you at? The Japanese guy Takai, he's right as well, is he, Deej?
No,
Is he left?
he plays both.
He plays both, but is he ready? I mean, again,
So
Van der Ven goes out in the first couple of games. Potentially, is he the right level of cover for him? So I think we've still got some gaps to plug in a few places.
Well, there you go. But we've got what we've got for Man City away at the Etihad. And look, we've beaten them 2 of the last 3 games with a squad that didn't include Mohamed Kudus. It didn't include Takai. Well, it won't include this one either. It didn't include Paulinho. It did include Son Heung-min, and it did include James Maddison. So what I'm trying to say is it's a similar level team that would be putting out against Man City. We have beaten them twice out 2 and 3. Do you guys feel like there's a chance of us going there? Is Frank a coach that's going to set us up and make us hard to beat there? Go on, DJ, over to you.
First of all, I think you're missing one massive exclusion for this squad that we had and made all the difference, I would say, in one of the previous games, which was Timo Werner. I don't know if we can compete.
We can still get him back.
That's true.
Sterling and Werner, left wing and as a 10.
Oh, you don't want Sancho?
God, don't spoil me, Deej. We'll be winning the
Sorry,
league.
yeah.
Got all those
Good
3 and
value.
Garnacho.
It's
Chuck
good
him in as well.
value.
Yeah, but I think that of the games that we could not have a 10 for, I've said this before, I think this is fortunately one of the better ones, weirdly, because I think we will set up again similar to the way we set up against PSG, where we focus more on playing on the counter and being really, really robust in the middle of the field, which then, because we want our midfield to focus so much on like the defensive work, being sound defensively, and also by playing a back 3, which I expect we'll play, allows our wingbacks, who I think are probably more creative than any of our midfielders at the moment, gives them more license to go forward. So the brunt of the creative work doesn't necessarily have to fall on the players like Paulinho or the players in the middle of the pitch. So I think we'll set up similar, and I think that it does mean that we can kind of get away without having a 10 for another week. But I think the Burnley game showed that while this team is playing well, I think it does require a creative player in the middle of the field to reach the potential that it has. And every day we don't sign one is a day we are closer to not having one that we really truly want at the end of the window. Because I don't doubt we'll sign somebody. I'm just nervous that we'll make a panic purchase.
Stu, are you feeling any more optimistic about the game itself? Do you feel there's a chance of getting something away from there? We set up as did against PSG.
I think defensively, it seems kind of strange to say, but defensively, there's still a question mark, I think, over them. It's just if you can get past their attack in midfield to have a go at them. I think Edison's back, isn't he? Because he was suspended for the first game. Because I know Trafford played in the first game. So if he's back, obviously that'll make it more difficult because he's a better keeper. But I think if we're as disciplined as we were against Paris Saint-Germain, if we still are effective like we were in dead ball situations, we have our back 4 back. We've got Romero and Van der Ven. We've got Paulinho to kind of protect them. I think we are in with a chance. It's not a foregone conclusion that they're just going to waltz all over us, and we always do seem to do well up there. So you can't write it off.
Yeah, I'm just not in the camp of us being that bad. Oh, sorry. So I'll go to you first. Go on, mate.
No, I was just thinking, can you get? I mean, they played Aït-Nouri and Rico Lewis at fullback against Wolves. If those 2 are starting fullbacks for them at the weekend, can you get at those 2? They both like to push on, play high, leaves gaps in behind. Could I see Kudus having a real go at Aït-Nouri? Yeah, for sure. And if we can get the ball out to the flanks quickly, and this is where I think it comes back to DG's point early on, that if you're going to have to play a high-profile game without a 10, this sort of game works for you if you've got some decent wingers that can get in behind the fullbacks. So it's not going to be easy. They started well last week, but that was Wolves, and we had 3-0. That was Burnley. So I wouldn't say I'm confident. You're never confident going to the Etihad, but I think it's not. We're not the disaster team that people are making out just because we didn't sign Eze. We've still got some good players there. Have we got gaps? Do we need to fill it? Yeah, for sure. Can we go and have a good go here? I think Paulinho could have an outstanding game, and if you get Bentancur and maybe Sarr running at them with the wingers going hard, then why not? Why not? Why can't we go and have a go?
That's how I feel as well. I think, Romero, Van der Ven, Porro, Spence, Udogie, Bentancur, they're players that would be in and around the squad for Manchester City. They're not bad players. Man City have far more depth than us. They've got, standout names and people like Haaland who are superstars, but most games on a weekend are decided by a single goal. It doesn't matter what the team is playing who. Most weekends, 80% of those fixtures are decided by a single goal. So I think it'll be a lot closer than people make out. Everyone expects us to get walloped by PSG, and that far from happened. I just feel the fallout from, the low feeling in the camp from missing out on that transfer has left people to think, we can't do anything now. We don't have a 10. I'm sorry, you can still play football and put out a good team without a 10. Like Liverpool have won a title doing it. You can do it. Other teams have won titles without a striker. Man City did that, which was truly impressive. But I'm not saying we're able to do that, and it's that we don't need one. It infinitely makes us better to have one. But it's not like you're terrible and it's disaster. Go on, Si.
I just wonder whether it has a flip side of motivation for the team where they can say, listen, we're going to go and show you that we can do this without a 10. That we don't need Eze, and that actually the players there are G'd up for it. I mean, yeah.
I also think, just as everyone's talking about a disastrous window and we didn't sign Morgan Gibbs-White, we didn't bring in Eze. But people forgetting we did bring in Khannouss, we did bring in Paulinho, we've extended Romero. Those are positive things as well. Mm-hmm. So I think, it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah. Khannouss looked absolutely fantastic. Richarlison looked absolutely fantastic.
He's like a new signing.
Brendan Johnson can't stop scoring. Everyone's favourite man. Go on, Si. You're going to say something?
No. I put my hand up by mistake. I'm getting used to the new feature in the software, Jim. I'm up and down like a...
Very nice. She's loving it. We're talking of new software. Si. We're now in Discord and we've created a group.
It's going nuts, mate.
It's growing like crazy because we've put a rule in there. Well, like not a policy or a rule, but like we've deliberately made it, you have to apply to get in. And I'll put the link to it in the description of this video and in the title, in the description of the podcast audio and on YouTube. But it's for people and it's not for everyone. But if you just don't enjoy the really intense, everything's over kind of vibe you get on the internet. I like the word histrionics at the moment. Like, that kind of level of melodramatic drama that comes with football, and we're all culpable for it. If that's what you don't like, you just want somewhere a bit quieter and safer where an algorithm can't force that on you, that is what this group is designed for. So you are welcome in there if you're in that camp, and if you're not, that's fine. Don't have to join before you complain. Yeah, any more final thoughts on the City game before we reach a bit of a summary?
I think it'll be an interesting kind of another sort of big test for Frank to see where we are, to see how well our team can adapt tactically week to week, because we've seen that we went pretty well, I think, to City. Like he said, I think the operation was successful, but the patient still died, which is, he's getting off to a strong start in terms of Tottenham branded quotes. We're going from strength to strength from Ange to Frank in those things, because I've seen that light at the end of the tunnel is an oncoming train one a lot over the past day or so, which I can't help but feel it has been accurate about this Eze transfer situation with we agreed to a fee and then the train is a certain other club. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think I'm interested to see how similar we set up to PS as we did against PSG. I think we probably will look pretty similar just because of the personnel that we have and the way in which Richarlison and Khannouss have been playing off each other. I think they've been playing really well. The only worry I have is that we did create a bulk of our chances from set pieces. I'm interested to see if we're able to match that level of chance creation, or I guess of set piece like generation against City, or if we'll need to be more reliant on the counter, and if so, how we handle that.
Well, we're going to find out not very long. So
yeah, we will.
Yeah, why don't we go back to dreaming a little bit that anything is possible, no matter who you're playing, because it really is in the Premier League. Guys, I think that's it. It's just a bit of a short one today. We're
doing predictions, Jim. We're doing predictions.
Oh yeah, let's
preview predictions. You can't let that
let's
go.
do predictions. Yeah. Go on then, Si. Start with you, mate.
Right, okay, yeah, me and my big mouth. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to get a win up there, isn't it? And I can't predict a loss.
Don't ask to do it and then nerf everyone's fun.
And then I'm bottling out. I'm on the fence, splinters, isn't it? I'd like us to nick a draw, 2-2. 2-2.
First, I'll give Johnny's. It was 2-1 for us with Richie scoring. Mine is going to be 1-1, and I also think it's going to be that man Richie again. I heard a stat that his goals per start for like the last 14 games is almost 1-on-1, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Wow. I'm
He's
going to go for 1-0 down at half time, 2-1 win. Richie with the first, and our beloved Brennan with the second. He is going to be the new Son Heung-min to Man City. No matter what form he's in, he just always ruins their day. So there you go. Deej, I didn't do you, did I?
No.
No? Go
I
on, mate.
will
Sorry.
go with a solid 2-1. Just feels like the best answer for a game in which you don't think you're going to win, but you have to predict a win anyway. That being said, I'll go 3-2. Us, just to be a little bit different. I think that City have a lot in terms of attacking talent. I think Reinders was a fantastic signing for them, and obviously Haaland is Haaland. It's going to be really hard to keep them out of the back of the net. But I do think that Kudus is very good. I think Richarlison is playing very well, and I think the winning goal will be scored by. I think it'll be a great, quick tale of redemption for Matis Tell. I think he'll get the third.
That would be lovely. That would be a nice
Wouldn't
story, wouldn't it?
That's
That'd
what
be
I'm
good.
saying.
Well, there you guys, you just heard the best preview in the world for Manchester City. So don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got plenty more videos coming up. We do them nearly daily now. So we've got videos alongside qualified coaches. We've got the originals pod, which is this one, with this awesome crew, but we're without our beloved Johnny at the moment. But he would normally be here as well. And we've got finance special episodes coming up with people who work in corporate finance, talking about how transfer budgets work. We're going to do that tomorrow because there's so many misconceptions over that. The words that we have £60 million lying around and now everyone knows it. So we're going to debunk that kind of stuff and just explain how it actually all works and ties in. And that's it, really, boys. Up the
Go on,
Go
you
on,
Spurs.
Spurs.